There's something encoded in your DNA that scientists are only beginning to understand. Beyond the genetic instructions for eye color and height lies a sophisticated quantum communication system that responds to your thoughts, emotions, and consciousness. What mainstream science calls junk DNA, the 97 of your genetic code that doesn't seem to code for proteins, isn't junk at all. It's the most advanced consciousness interface ever discovered. Dr. Peter Garyaev's groundbreaking research in Russia revealed that this non-coding DNA behaves like a biological quantum computer, storing and transmitting information through light patterns and electromagnetic frequencies. When he exposed DNA samples to laser light, they began producing coherent photons, essentially turning living cells into biological lasers that could communicate across vast distances. But here's where it gets extraordinary. Your DNA doesn't just respond to physical stimuli, it responds to consciousness itself. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every intention you hold is literally rewriting your genetic expression in real time. You're not stuck with the genetic hand you were dealt. You're constantly redrawing the cards through the quality of consciousness you maintain. This isn't New Age speculation. Dr. Bruce Lipton's research in epigenetics has shown that environmental signals, including thoughts and emotions, can alter gene expression within minutes. But the Russian research goes deeper, suggesting that consciousness can actually access and modify what they call the genetic wave matrix, the quantum field template that organizes biological development. When you understand that your DNA is essentially a quantum antenna system designed to receive and transmit consciousness frequencies, everything changes. Your genetic potential isn't fixed. It's fluid, responsive, and constantly updating based on the informational patterns you feed it through your awareness. If you can feel the profound implications of this hitting your consciousness right now, type 777 in the comments below. This number isn't random. It's your signal to the universe that you're ready to consciously activate the dormant potentials encoded in your genetic matrix. Most people live their entire lives accessing only a fraction of their DNA's capabilities. They've been conditioned to believe that genes determine destiny, that they're victims of their heredity, that their potential is limited by what their parents passed down. But quantum genetics reveals the opposite. Your genes are waiting for conscious activation signals from your awareness. Think of your DNA like a vast library containing every possible human capability ever developed. Genius-level intelligence, extraordinary creativity, advanced healing abilities, psychic perceptions, enhanced physical capabilities. All of these potentials exist as dormant programs within your genetic code. The only question is whether you know how to access them. Dr. Vladimir Poponin's experiments at the Institute of HeartMath demonstrated that human DNA can influence photons of light even after the DNA is removed from the room. This phantom DNA effect suggests that genetic material creates persistent energy fields that can be accessed and influenced through consciousness long after physical separation. What this means is revolutionary. Your DNA isn't just inside your cells, it's creating an information field around your body that responds to conscious intention. When you align your awareness with specific genetic potentials, you're essentially downloading and activating dormant programs that have been waiting in your DNA for conscious recognition. The ancient yogic traditions understood this principle. They spoke of awakening the serpent power, the dormant evolutionary force coiled at the base of the spine. Modern science suggests this serpent power might be the quantum activation of non-coding DNA sequences that contain advanced consciousness capabilities. Dr. Fritz Albert Popp's research on biophotons reveals that healthy cells emit coherent light frequencies, while diseased cells emit chaotic patterns. When your consciousness is coherent, when your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are aligned, your DNA produces ordered light patterns that communicate healing instructions throughout your body. This explains why consciousness-based healing modalities can produce seemingly miraculous results. When someone achieves deep states of coherent awareness, their DNA begins broadcasting healing frequencies that can literally reprogram cellular function from the quantum level up. But DNA activation goes far beyond healing. Russian scientists have discovered that certain DNA sequences respond to spoken language and specific frequency patterns. Dr. Garyaev's team found that DNA could be reprogrammed using modulated laser light and even spoken words when delivered with the right intention and frequency. This suggests that your DNA is continuously listening to the frequency patterns of your thoughts and words, using them as activation codes for different genetic programs. When you consistently think thoughts of limitation, your DNA receives limitation activation codes. When you maintain patterns of possibility and expansion, entirely different genetic potentials come online. The implications are staggering. Every affirmation you speak, every visualization you practice, every elevated emotion you generate is literally sending activation signals to dormant aspects of your genetic code. You're not just thinking positive thoughts, you're issuing conscious commands to your genetic operating system. Dr. Konstantin Korotkov's research using electrophotonic imaging shows that human consciousness can influence the energy patterns of DNA samples at a distance. When trained individuals focused coherent intention on DNA samples, the sample's energy signatures changed measurably, even when separated by continents. This points to what quantum physicists call non-local consciousness effects, the ability of awareness to influence physical systems regardless of spatial separation. Your consciousness isn't confined to your brain. It's a field phenomenon that can access and activate genetic potentials throughout your entire biological system. Ancient mystery schools taught specific practices designed to activate dormant DNA potentials. Sacred geometry meditations, specific breathing patterns, precise sound frequencies, and focused intention exercises weren't just spiritual practices. They were consciousness technologies for genetic activation. Modern research validates these ancient approaches. Dr. Masaru Emoto's water crystal experiments demonstrated that conscious intention can restructure the molecular patterns of water. Since your body is over 70 water and your DNA is surrounded by structured water, conscious intention can literally reshape the aqueous matrix that surrounds your genetic material. When you practice coherent intention while focusing on water, whether through meditation, prayer, or conscious gratitude, you're restructuring the liquid environment that your DNA operates within. This creates optimal conditions for genetic activation and enhanced cellular communication. The Russian research reveals that DNA can store vast amounts of information in quantum superposition states. Unlike computer memory that stores information as discrete bits, DNA memory can hold multiple potential realities simultaneously until consciousness collapses them into specific expressions. This means your genetic code contains not just one version of your potential, but infinite possible versions existing in quantum superposition. Every choice you make, every thought you think, every emotion you feel is essentially selecting which version of your genetic potential gets activated in your current reality. Dr. Dan Winter's research on DNA geometry shows that the double helix structure creates a perfect golden ratio spiral that can achieve phase conjugation, a quantum phenomenon where waves can perfectly nest inside each other, creating coherent interference patterns that amplify rather than cancel. When your consciousness achieves similar coherence, when your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are perfectly aligned, your awareness can phase conjugate with your DNA's quantum field, dramatically amplifying your ability to activate dormant genetic potentials. This is the science behind what mystics call DNA activation, or genetic awakening. It's not mystical mumbo-jumbo. It's applied quantum biology using consciousness as the activation technology. The ancient Sanskrit texts describe this process as awakening the divine blueprint. They understood that human DNA contains godlike potentials that remain dormant until activated by elevated consciousness. Modern quantum genetics is rediscovering these same principles through rigorous scientific investigation. Dr. Glenn Reen's research demonstrates that coherent heart rhythms can influence DNA winding and unwinding patterns. When research subjects entered heart-coherent states while focusing intention on DNA samples, the samples showed measurable changes in their structural configuration. This suggests that your heart's electromagnetic field, when operating in coherent patterns, can directly influence genetic expression. The ancient teaching about following your heart isn't just emotional advice, it's genetic activation technology. When you align your heart's electromagnetic field with coherent intention, you create optimal conditions for DNA activation. Your heart becomes a quantum field generator that can access and influence the genetic wave matrix that organizes your biological potential. The most profound discovery is that DNA activation effects can be transmitted between individuals. Dr. Cleve Baxter's research showed that DNA samples maintain energetic connections with their original donors regardless of distance. When the donor experienced emotional states, the separated DNA samples responded instantaneously. This suggests that consciousness-based DNA activation can create field effects that influence other people's genetic expression. When you activate elevated potentials in your own DNA, you're contributing to the collective genetic field of humanity, making it easier for others to access similar potentials. The ancient concept of morphic fields finds new validation in DNA field research. When enough individuals activate specific genetic potentials, those potentials become more accessible to the entire human collective. Your personal DNA activation work contributes to the evolutionary advancement of our entire species. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance theory suggests that once a certain number of individuals develop new capabilities, those capabilities become easier for everyone else to develop. DNA activation research indicates this may occur through quantum genetic field effects that transcend individual biological boundaries. This places profound responsibility on each individual. Your consciousness choices don't just affect your personal genetic expression, they influence the collective genetic field of humanity. Every time you activate elevated potentials in your DNA, you're helping make those potentials more available to everyone. The most advanced DNA activation occurs when consciousness achieves what researchers call zero-point coherence, a state where awareness becomes so refined that it can access the quantum vacuum field where all possibilities exist in pure potential. In this state, consciousness can theoretically access any genetic potential that has ever existed in human DNA, including capabilities that represent the leading edge of human evolution. Some researchers suggest this is how spontaneous genius, miraculous healing, and extraordinary human capabilities emerge through zero-point access to the collective genetic matrix. Ancient teachings about downloading Akashic records may actually describe this process of accessing collective genetic information through zero-point consciousness states. The Akashic records might be the quantum information field generated by all human DNA throughout history. Dr. James Oshman's research on living matrix systems shows that consciousness can access and influence biological systems through quantum field effects that operate faster than light and across any distance. Your awareness isn't limited to your individual genetic code. It can potentially access the genetic wisdom of the entire human species. The practical applications are limitless. By learning to achieve coherent consciousness states while focusing intention on specific genetic potentials, you can theoretically activate dormant capabilities that represent the cutting edge of human possibility. Enhanced cognitive abilities, expanded sensory perception, accelerated healing capacities, increased creativity, deeper intuitive knowing, all of these potentials exist as dormant programs within your DNA, waiting for the right consciousness activation codes. The Russian research indicates that genetic activation happens most effectively when consciousness achieves specific brainwave patterns, particularly in the gamma range above 40 Hz. These high-frequency brainwave states seem to create optimal conditions for DNA quantum field access. Advanced meditators who achieve sustained gamma states often report accessing extraordinary capabilities and knowledge that seems to come from beyond their personal experience. DNA activation research suggests they may be accessing genetic potentials that contain the accumulated wisdom and capabilities of human consciousness evolution. The ancient practice of becoming one with the divine may actually be a description of consciousness merging with the quantum genetic field that contains all human potential. When awareness expands beyond individual identification, it can access the collective genetic matrix that represents humanity's highest possibilities. This reframes spiritual awakening not as transcending the body, but as fully activating the infinite potentials encoded within human DNA. Enlightenment becomes the complete activation of genetic consciousness capabilities that represent the intended fulfillment of human evolutionary design. The most remarkable implication is that human evolution may not require thousands of years of gradual genetic change. Through conscious DNA activation, individuals can access evolutionary potentials immediately, essentially fast-tracking human development through awareness-based genetic activation. When you understand that your DNA is a consciousness interface designed to respond to the quality of awareness you maintain, self-improvement becomes genetic activation. Personal development becomes evolutionary advancement. Spiritual practice becomes consciousness-based genetic engineering. Your DNA contains programs for capabilities you can't even imagine. Enhanced telepathic abilities, direct energy manipulation, consciousness-based healing, access to non-local information. These aren't science fiction fantasies, but dormant genetic potentials waiting for conscious activation. The quantum field that organizes your DNA is responsive to your thoughts, emotions, intentions, and the overall quality of consciousness you maintain. Every moment, you're either activating elevated genetic potentials or reinforcing limited genetic expressions through the awareness patterns you choose to embody. Ancient prophecies spoke of a time when humanity would awaken to its divine genetic heritage. Modern DNA activation research suggests this awakening is happening right now, individual by individual, as people learn to consciously activate the extraordinary potentials encoded within their genetic matrix. The choice is yours. Will you continue operating from a fraction of your genetic potential, or will you learn to activate the godlike capabilities that have been waiting in your DNA for conscious recognition? Your genetic code is listening to every thought, responding to every emotion, and updating its expression based on the quality of consciousness you maintain. The question isn't whether DNA activation is possible. The question is whether you're ready to take conscious control of your genetic destiny. The infinite library of human potential exists within your DNA right now. The activation codes are written in the language of consciousness itself. Your awareness is the key that unlocks genetic possibilities beyond your current imagination. What potentials will you choose to activate? What version of human capability will you bring online through the consciousness patterns you maintain? Your DNA is waiting for your conscious command. The future of human evolution lies not in random genetic mutation, but in conscious genetic activation. You're not just a passive carrier of genetic information. You're a conscious genetic engineer with the power to activate extraordinary potentials through the quality of awareness you choose to embody. Your DNA contains the blueprint for human divinity. The only question is whether you're ready to activate it. And here's where the research becomes truly revolutionary. Dr. Luc Montagnier, Nobel Prize winner for his work on HIV, discovered that DNA sequences can be transmitted through electromagnetic signals alone. His experiments showed that pure water exposed to these DNA electromagnetic signatures began spontaneously generating the original DNA sequences, essentially creating biological matter from pure information. This suggests that your DNA isn't just a physical molecule, but an informational pattern that can exist and propagate through quantum fields. When you achieve coherent consciousness states, you're not just influencing your existing DNA, you're potentially accessing and downloading entirely new genetic patterns from the collective human genetic field. The implications are staggering. Every human capability that has ever been expressed exists as an informational pattern in the quantum genetic field. Through consciousness-based field access, you could theoretically download and activate genetic programs for abilities that you were never born with, essentially upgrading your biological software through awareness alone. Dr. Michael Persinger's research at Laurentian University demonstrates that specific electromagnetic field patterns can induce profound shifts in consciousness and perception. When applied to areas of the brain associated with genetic expression regulation, these fields can trigger what appears to be spontaneous activation of dormant DNA sequences. His work suggests that consciousness and electromagnetic fields are intimately connected, and that by learning to generate specific brainwave patterns and electromagnetic signatures, individuals can create optimal conditions for genetic activation. This isn't just meditation, it's precision consciousness, engineering for biological transformation. The ancient Egyptian and Tibetan practices of working with sacred geometry weren't just artistic expressions. They were sophisticated technologies for generating the exact electromagnetic field patterns needed for DNA activation. Sacred geometric forms like the Flower of Life, the Sri Yantra, and the Merkaba create specific frequency signatures that resonate with DNA's quantum field structure. When you meditate on these geometric patterns while maintaining coherent intention, you're essentially tuning your consciousness to the frequency signatures that facilitate genetic activation. Modern research into cymatics, the study of how sound creates geometric patterns, validates that specific frequencies do indeed generate these ancient sacred geometries in physical matter. Dr. Royal Raymond Rife's suppressed research from the 1930s showed that every biological system has a unique electromagnetic signature, and that exposure to precise frequencies could either destroy pathological organisms or enhance healthy biological function. His work suggests that DNA activation might be achievable through precise frequency exposure combined with conscious intention. Modern frequency therapy practitioners report remarkable results when combining specific sound frequencies with DNA activation intentions. Participants in these sessions often describe spontaneous healings, sudden cognitive enhancements, and the emergence of abilities they never previously possessed. The key appears to be achieving what researchers call frequency coherence between consciousness intention and the natural resonant frequencies of DNA. When these frequencies align, genetic activation happens spontaneously and often dramatically. Dr. Peter Marsa's work on quantum holography suggests that DNA functions as a biological hologram, encoding information about the entire organism in every fragment. This means that every cell in your body contains the complete informational blueprint for activating any human capability that has ever existed. When consciousness achieves sufficient coherence to access this holographic information, individuals can potentially activate genetic programs for enhanced intelligence, psychic abilities, accelerated healing, extended longevity, and even capabilities that represent the next stage of human evolution. The ancient mystery school teachings about humans being made in the image of God may actually be describing this holographic nature of DNA. Every individual contains the complete genetic template for accessing divine-like capabilities. Consciousness is simply the activation key. Dr. Stuart Hameroff's research on quantum consciousness suggests that microtubules in brain cells function as quantum computers, processing information through quantum superposition and entanglement effects. His work indicates that consciousness operates at the quantum level, which would explain how awareness can directly influence quantum genetic fields. When consciousness achieves quantum coherence through advanced meditation practices, it can theoretically entangle with DNA quantum fields throughout the body, creating instant communication and activation effects that transcend normal biological limitations. This explains reports from advanced practitioners who describe being able to consciously direct healing energy to specific organs, activate enhanced sensory perception, or access information through non-local consciousness effects. They're not performing miracles, they're utilizing quantum consciousness technologies for genetic activation. The most advanced DNA activation techniques combine multiple approaches simultaneously. Practitioners use specific breathing patterns to achieve optimal brainwave states, focus on sacred geometric visualizations to generate proper electromagnetic signatures, employ precise sound frequencies to create resonant field conditions, and maintain coherent intention to direct the activation process. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research with advanced meditators shows brain scan patterns that look nothing like ordinary human consciousness. These individuals have learned to achieve sustained gamma brainwave states while maintaining alpha heart rhythm coherence, creating optimal conditions for what appears to be DNA activation effects. Participants in his workshops report spontaneous healings from terminal illnesses, sudden manifestation of financial abundance, dramatic improvements in cognitive function, and the emergence of psychic abilities. Brain scans show that their neural activity during these experiences resembles patterns associated with reported DNA activation states. The key insight from this research is that DNA activation isn't a passive process. It requires active consciousness participation. You must learn to achieve specific internal states while maintaining clear intention for the genetic potentials you want to activate. Think of it like tuning a complex musical instrument. Your consciousness must achieve the right frequency. Your intention must be precisely focused, your emotional state must be coherent, and your physical body must be in optimal condition to receive and anchor the activated genetic programs. Dr. William Tiller's research at Stanford demonstrates that human intention can create measurable changes in physical space that persist for months after the intention is withdrawn. His work suggests that consciousness-based DNA activation creates lasting field effects that continue influencing genetic expression long after the activation session ends. This means that successful DNA activation doesn't just temporarily access enhanced capabilities, it creates permanent upgrades to your genetic operating system. Once activated, these enhanced programs become part of your baseline biological function. The ancient alchemical traditions spoke of transforming base metals into gold, which modern researchers suggest might be metaphorical descriptions of DNA activation processes. The base metals represent limited genetic expression, while gold represents fully activated divine genetic potentials. Modern practitioners who successfully activate advanced DNA programs often describe feeling like completely different people, not just psychologically, but biologically. They report enhanced physical strength, improved sensory perception, accelerated healing, expanded cognitive capabilities, and intuitive knowing that seems to come from beyond their personal experience. Dr. Valerie Hunt's research on human energy fields shows that individuals with activated consciousness capabilities generate measurably different electromagnetic signatures than ordinary people. Their biofields contain frequency patterns that don't appear in baseline human measurements, suggesting activation of genetic programs that are normally dormant. These electromagnetic signatures appear to be contagious. People who spend time around individuals with activated fields often begin developing similar capabilities themselves. This suggests that DNA activation creates field effects that can trigger activation in others through electromagnetic resonance. The most profound realization is that DNA activation isn't just personal development, it's species evolution. Every individual who successfully activates advanced genetic potentials contributes to the collective genetic field of humanity, making it easier for others to access similar capabilities. Ancient prophecies from multiple traditions describe a time when humanity would undergo rapid evolutionary advancement, developing godlike capabilities and transcending current biological limitations. DNA activation research suggests this prophesied transformation is beginning to happen right now. The technologies for conscious genetic activation are becoming available just as global challenges require expanded human capabilities to solve. This may not be coincidental. Evolutionary pressure often triggers the emergence of new capabilities exactly when they're needed for species survival. Climate change, technological disruption, social transformation, and consciousness evolution are creating conditions that require humans to access potentials far beyond current normal ranges. DNA activation may be the biological mechanism through which our species adapts to these unprecedented challenges. The ancient Vedic texts describe this as the transition from Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, to Satya Yuga, the age of truth, characterized by humans awakening to their divine genetic heritage and expressing godlike capabilities as normal human function. Modern DNA activation research suggests this transition isn't metaphorical. It's a literal biological transformation occurring through consciousness-based genetic activation. Humanity is literally evolving into a more advanced species through the conscious activation of dormant genetic potentials. Your participation in this evolutionary process isn't optional every moment. You're either activating elevated genetic potentials or reinforcing limited genetic expressions through the consciousness patterns you maintain. The question is whether you'll participate consciously or remain unaware of your genetic activation power. The most successful DNA activation occurs when individuals combine scientific understanding with ancient wisdom, using modern research to optimize traditional practices for maximum genetic activation effectiveness. This means studying the electromagnetic signatures that facilitate activation, learning the brainwave patterns that create optimal conditions, understanding the geometric patterns that resonate with DNA structure, and mastering the consciousness techniques that direct the activation process. But beyond technique, successful DNA activation requires a fundamental shift in identity. you must stop seeing yourself as a limited human, struggling with fixed genetics, and start recognizing yourself as a conscious genetic engineer with the power to activate divine capabilities through awareness. This identity shift isn't just psychological, it's biological. When you truly embody the knowing that you're a divine being with unlimited genetic potential, your DNA responds by activating programs that match this elevated self-concept. The ancient teaching, "Know thyself," isn't philosophical advice. It's DNA activation instructions. When you know yourself as an unlimited consciousness, using a biological vehicle capable of expressing any human potential ever developed, your genetic code begins activating programs that match this knowing. Your DNA is waiting for conscious recognition of its true capabilities. Every limitation you accept, every doubt you maintain, every fear you hold is sending deactivation signals to genetic potentials that could transform your life beyond current imagination. But the moment you choose to see yourself as a conscious genetic engineer capable of activating divine capabilities through awareness, your DNA begins responding to this elevated programming. The transformation can happen immediately because consciousness operates faster than biological time. The choice before you is simple but profound. Will you continue living as a victim of genetic limitations that don't actually exist? Or will you step into your role as a conscious genetic engineer capable of activating divine potentials through the quality of awareness you choose to maintain? Your DNA contains programs for capabilities that would seem like superpowers compared to current human normal. Enhanced telepathic communication, direct energy manipulation, consciousness-based healing, access to non-local information, accelerated learning, extended longevity, and spiritual abilities that connect you directly to universal intelligence. These aren't future possibilities. They're dormant realities encoded in your genetic matrix right now, waiting for the consciousness activation codes that only you can provide. The universe has been preparing for this moment throughout all of human evolution. Every breakthrough in consciousness, every spiritual advancement, every leap in human capability has been building toward this time when individuals would learn to consciously activate the divine genetic heritage that represents humanity's true potential. You're not just living through a personal transformation, you're participating in the conscious evolution of the human species itself. Your DNA activation choices contribute to the collective genetic field that determines what becomes possible for all future humans. This is your invitation to step fully into your role as a conscious genetic engineer, using the technologies of awareness to activate the divine capabilities that have been waiting in your DNA for this moment of recognition. Your genetic code is listening. Your dormant potentials are ready. The only question remaining is, what divine capabilities will you choose to activate through the consciousness you maintain right now?